Wow, what a first round draft. Wow, it actually shocks me, especially towards the end of this draft. Basically, pick 15 onwards really shocked me, and yeah, I want to get into it a little bit. Before we do, subscribe if you haven't already. A large percent of you aren't subscribed, and if you're a St Kilda supporter, you can follow my Instagram at Saints Nation. It will be up on the screen and in the description. And if you'd also like, you can join the Discord server. A link to that will also be in the description. But yeah, at pick 1, Sam Layla. Not a surprise pick. Everyone called this from about a month out. Finn O'Sullivan was always in conversations, but towards the end of the draft, we really knew it was going to be Layla. And I think that's the right pick for what Richmond really want to build. And when you look at the rest of Richmond's draft, we can just pull it up. I might actually just go team by team because it is a bit crazy, but Josh Smiley here, Taj Houghton. So you see they draft 3 mids and then 3 key position players. So pretty good draft on that side of the ball, you know. They've still got 1 pick tomorrow night. Do they trade that out? That's still yet to be seen, but Finn O'Sullivan here to North Melbourne. Everyone knew this was the pick 2 days ago. You know, Taron Thomas obviously out the door. They've got Luke Davies-Uniacke, still a free agent, has not re-signed with the club yet. And yeah, you know, they've got a really strong midfield going forward. You got Sheasel, McKercher, Wardlaw, Dersmo is probably a bit more of a forward half player, but LDU if he stays, Dylan Stevens, Will Phillips. I go on and on about that midfield. Josh Simpkin even in there, but yeah, great pick. One of my top rated players. I had him ranked 3 in the end, and pick 2 is definitely fair value for him. And then this is the pick I'm a bit odd about. Jagger Smith at Carlton. You look at Carlton's midfield, what have they got? Sam Walsh, speedy, but he's not speedy, you know. Paddy Cripps, bull, he's got no speed. Chera, no speed. Hewitt, no speed. Akers has speed, but he's a winger. He's not an inside midfielder. So you're telling me you draft Jagger Smith over Sid Draper? I even think Carlton fans don't agree with that. I think Carlton fans wanted Draper. Draper has the speed to be that point of difference midfielder. I get that Jagger was probably highly rated throughout the year, more like he was higher rated. Got a lot of the ball, but it's just when you trade up to pick 3, you're not trading up to pick 3 to just get a player you already got. You're trading up to pick 3 to get a point of difference if you're Carlton, and they didn't do that. They drafted Jagger Smith. I honestly don't get it. And look, Blues fans, if you're watching this, tell me what you think of it, because I don't rate it, and a lot of Blues fans I've talked to about it don't rate it either. And yeah, I mean, even Harvey Langford here, if I was a Blues fan, I would have probably had it ranked Sid Draper, Harvey Langford, and Jagger Smith. Those would have been my 3 wish lists. Obviously, Finn O'Sullivan, but he's gone. But yeah, obviously, Adelaide get the homegrown kid and Sid Draper. Speed adds to that midfield, you know, that point of difference, which it could have been to Carlton, you know. You've got Dawson, you've got Rankin, you've got Rochelle, you've got Keys. There's a couple more in there I'm forgetting. I know the last 3 I named were sort of small forwards, but they all run through that midfield a fair bit. You know, probably Laird, now you think he goes to halfback. But yeah, I think it's a good pick for Adelaide. Obviously, there was a lot of talk pre-draft about if Draper really wanted to go and stay in Adelaide or if he wanted to go to a Victorian team. I think it's the right pick. I think you got to prove to him to stay, because even though he is from Australia, there was a lot of talk that he did not want to go to the Crows tonight. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Ashcroft got bid on at 5. You know, as a St Kilda fan, I would like to see the value. You know, they paid 4 picks in the 40s. That's what they got for pick 5. Thank God that's changing next year, but I really like Levi as a prospect. His only weakness is his speed and maybe his height at 181 centimeters. I think he was the smallest player taken that wasn't like a small forward. I can probably look at it right now. So Kako 176 small forward, Joe Berry 180 small forward, Hannaford 180 small forward, Harrison Oliver same size halfback, So yeah, one of the smaller players taken, but he's still good. We all know he's going to be good. And Harvey Langford. This is a Saints fan where I started to get worried when I saw Harvey Langford's name get read out here. Great pickup for Melbourne. Sort of like, you think of their midfield currently. Is it going to be the same in 5 years, you know, with Petrarca and Oliver? Are they going to be there? But right now, it's Oliver, Petrarca, Viney, and now you added Langford to that. So I don't want to use point of difference too much, but it's point of difference. Then at 7, Richmond go ahead and grab Josh Smiley. Talk that they could draft Taru here, they could draft Lindsay, they could draft Bo Allen here, but they go with Smiley. It makes sense. Was a pick 1 candidate all year, 195 centimeters, great clearance player, and yeah, I think he pairs pretty well with Layla. And then pick 8, Toby Travaglia to the Saints. As a Saints fan, I'm looking at this draft. I'm like, look, at pick 8, I think we're going to trade away what became pick 10. So let's draft Taru here, and then Toby Travaglia's name got read out. I'm like, what? Oh, what have we done? Because I'm under the impression that we're going to trade away pick 10 or pick 9. Like, we've drafted Travaglia. We're going to leave Taru on the board. Taru is a prospect I really wanted, so I'll get into that a bit later. But look, I think we're not drafting him as a halfback. We're drafting him as a midfielder. And that's something Saints fans are going to have to realise. Although he played halfback, we are not drafting him to play halfback. We are drafting him to be a midfielder. And he's got the pace to do it. And if he has a full off season there, who knows what he can become. And a lot of St Kilda fans are going to be like, why did we draft 2 defenders? Why didn't we draft a midfielder? Look at the midfielders who are on the board here. There's no one. Those top 6 midfielders that you were going to complain that we didn't get all went before our pick. We did not have access to them. The next best was Lindsay. I think Lindsay at this range is a bit of an overshot. I think he was a bit of an overshot at pick 11. I think Taj Houghton didn't make sense. We delisted his brother. Bo Allen, yeah, makes sense here. But WA prospect, there's always that go home factor. Murphy Reid does not fit our midfield. Slow, Hunter Clark clone. Is he even going to play midfield at AFL level? We don't know. And then Cooper Hines went at pick 20. 10 picks later. So we're not going to draft a midfielder with these picks the way the draft turned out. We're going to draft Toby Travaglia, who's the next best player, in my opinion, who can be a midfielder. Then Leonardo Lombard, bid on at pick 9. Don't have much to say here, really. Dad's a UFC fighter. That's pretty cool. Wasn't there tonight. I don't know why. I don't know much about that. It's not something I really want to get into, but pretty cool to have done in the UFC, and you can see it in his game. He's a very tough player. And then pick 10, Alex Taru. This is a pick I am so happy about. I'm like, if we cannot get a midfielder, we need to draft Taru. He can be the battle replacement. He can go forward and kick goals if we need him to. Perfect for a Ross Lyon system. Perfect as that swingman. In my opinion, we've drafted him as a defender. We've drafted him as a long-time battle replacement. He'll start his career forward, I think. I think we're going to train Caminiti to be a forward. Maybe not. We'll see, because there's a really good forward. There's 2 really good forwards that didn't get drafted tonight, who I'm really excited about. I'll do a section on undrafted players. I'll show you my rankings as well. But Xavier Lindsay, pick 11 here. Really like him as a player. Pick 11 is probably a bit too high when you got Bo Allen on the board. But yeah, look, he's clean. Maybe, you know, 183 is he's a bit short. He's not definitely on the short end of midfielders. He's more outside as well. So when you think of Melbourne, obviously, Lockie Hunter retired this year. He's a winger. What's his name? Ed Langdon. He's a winger. Yeah, I definitely see him being that next evolution of a winger. Obviously, Caleb Windsor they drafted this year as well, or last year. Then at pick 12, Taj Houghton. This is when I was like, really, Taj Houghton? You've been linked to Bo Allen for so long, and you're gonna take Taj Houghton? I get it, high upside, and that's what you need to do when you've got like picks of this caliber. I almost think, looking at the way Richmond drafted, I think Richmond did their power rankings or their big board in round 1, and they didn't touch it. based off the way they drafted here, and I reckon it's real visible with pick 14. But then pick 13, Kako gets bid on. Don't need to talk much about him, best small forward in the draft. But then pick 14, Jonty Fall. You've got Harry Armstrong, you've got both the Whitlock twins, and Job Shanahan as well, who I all ranked above Jonty Fall. Now, I made that comment earlier about Richmond not touching their big board or their draft board. Because Jonty Fall at the start of the year was probably the best key forward prospect and didn't really live up to it. And pick 14, I mean, it's definitely a massive bolter. I'm not sure. He was definitely picked top 30 in my rankings, maybe 29. But yeah, real surprise for me here. But yeah, obviously teammate to Sam Layla. Like, it's a good pick. If you want that connection, I guess. I still would have preferred like one of the other forwards, but you look at the way the draft turned out, 2 of them didn't end up getting drafted. Then at 15, Port trade pick 16 and 45 to the Eagles and draft Joe Berry with that pick. Look, not sure how I rate it. I think if Taj Houghton is on the board, they draft Taj Houghton. Really surprised they didn't draft Armstrong here. I thought they would have really needed tolls, especially when you look at their smalls. You've already got Richards, you've already got Rioli, you've already got Burn-Jones, and now you're adding Joe Berry to that mix. It's interesting. Are they going to trade up in the draft and grab one of the tolls now? That's definitely a possibility. Then West Coast, one of my winners of the draft. If you just look at it, they were not supposed to get Beau Allen with this pick. West Coast fans did not believe for a day, for a second, that they were going to get Beau Allen. And he just kept sliding. I'm like, oh, wow, Richmond might go and pick 14. Oh, wow, he's really going to go to West Coast as a Perth boy. And yeah, West Coast Eagles fans should be stoked. It looked like such a bad move to trade down from pick 3. But now that you got Beau Allen, I don't think you would have taken Beau Allen at 3, but I think Beau Allen, he was like a top 10 prospect for me, easily. And you got him at 16, which is great for them. And then Murphy Reid at 17. Not the most shocking pick, that's for sure. But really surprising. Was seen as a flight risk going in. And now he ends up in Perth. Best read in Perth, maybe. But, yeah, really surprising to me with Murphy Reid here. Brayshaw, now as there talks about Brayshaw, obviously, I think they've got a really underrated midfield depth. You know, you've got Brayshaw, you've got Sarong, you got Young moved in there. Fife, you probably want to play him a bit more forward. You've got Erasmus, you've got Johnson, you've got O'Driscoll, he's probably a bit more forward half, but they're all players I really like. And now you're adding Reid to that. It looks really good. They should be ready to make a charge for finals next year. How do they do that? Not too sure, but yeah, I don't think you need to question the Brayshaw decision now as much as you need to question the LDU decision. I think if LDU does not re-sign before round 10, alarm bells will ring at North Melbourne. They're ringing at Arden Street. If Brayshaw hasn't re-signed by then, I don't think you need the alarm bells. But then 18, Ollie Hannaford, and 19, Harrison Oliver go to the Giants. I always knew the Giants were going to do something weird with these 2 picks if they took them. And Ollie Hannaford isn't weird, it's a bit of a bolter. Oliver's the weird one for me. They like drafting out of Vic Country. And I'm really surprised with Oliver. They do need those halfback flankers. I thought they would have traded up to grab Travaglia, but obviously not. And yeah, Hannaford makes sense to me. As a Vic Country player, that small forward, that sort of mosquito fleet they're trying to build there in Sydney. But yeah, Cooper Hines, this pick was not surprising to me at all. The second Oliver got taken, I knew Hines was going to go to the Dogs. Add to that midfield depth. I was questioning if they take one of these sliding key forwards. You know, because I think the second they get a competent head coach in the door, because no one likes Beveridge. He has his fans because they want him that premiership, but no one really loves him. The second they get a competent coach in there, Norton's moving a centre half back because Jones is almost done. Lobb, they're both at the end of their careers. So I thought maybe they could take a key forward here, but they didn't end up doing it. Luke Traynor, bit surprising here. I do think, you know, definitely need to add to that key defence. And Traynor does that. His concussion issues a worry, maybe. It's not something I look too much into. But yeah, I think it was only like 4 reported concussions, which again, it's reported, but it's always interesting. But yeah, Traynor was a really good prospect. He was top 5 for most of the year until the final series where he had his concussions. Then Detoli, I've watched this, I'm like, what are Sydney doing? I have mocked Detoli to Sydney at pick 26, but I'm like, they need to take a toll with this first pick. And you've got Shanahan, you've got Armstrong, you've got the Whitlock. They were my 4 favourite tolls in this draft, and you didn't take one of them? Look, I'm sure Detoli is going to be a good small forward, but you just had Jacob Constanti leave the club. He was a small forward. He didn't get a game. He was a first round pick as well. I think, you know, Detoli probably has more that midfield aspect to him. I think he can be a good midfielder. But at 180 centimetres, he's not a full-time mid. He's a split time there. He can go to a few centre bounces a game, but he's not a full-time mid. Then Harry Armstrong here, 23. Steal. Look, as the draft process went on, I didn't love Armstrong as much. I was like, oh, he could be top 5 with Melbourne. Melbourne could take him here. Or then I was like, oh, Melbourne probably take him at pick 9 now. He slid so far down. I don't know why. I was questioning it on Twitter. I'm like, why has he been caught doing the naughty stuff in the bathroom? What is going on? Why is this kid falling? And I'm sure it will come out soon. Why did he fall so far? When you look at Port Adelaide, they need a key forward. When you look at Richmond, they took him, but they could have taken him at 21, and then he got past Sydney. I'm like, is this kid going to go to the second round? But as surprising as Harry Armstrong was, when Cody Angove's name got read out to the Giants, I had to look up who he was. I'd heard the name, but like, I didn't have him ranked. I did a ranking of 60 players, because I think it will be about 60 players to take. I did not have this kid ranked. Even if I extended it out to 80, I don't think I would have had him ranked. I've never had him taken in any of my mock drafts. This was such a surprise, and I get it that the Giants love to do their weird drafting, but come on. He was ranked like 56 by Fox Footy on their thing. I'm like, what are they doing here? But that is not the worst pick. Maybe, because I've never heard of him. At least I've heard of the player I'm going to talk about soon. But Sam Marshall to Brisbane. Look, makes sense. He'll be a gun. Sydney Nedbone, what are you doing? Both the Whitlock boys are on the board. Shanahan's still on the board. And you take Ned Bowman from Adelaide? What are you doing? You need keys. You don't need these medium 187 forwards. I haven't had time to look into what Sydney fans think of this, but what are they doing? I don't get it. Why are you not taking a key position? You need key position. Look, like Rampy is old, Lloyd is old. You've got who's even kidney. You had fucking Lewis Malikan. He was your bloody fullback this year. He is not. I get he was good, but he's not competent. He's not a competent fullback. You want someone better than that. And then you look at your forward line. You got Amadi. Yeah, Amadi's good, but he's not there every day. He doesn't perform every game. You look at him. He was so quiet in that first final. Then he kicked the winning goal. What did he do for the rest of the final series? Logan McDonald. I get it that he got injured, but what did he do in that final series? Nothing. Hayden McLean. Like, he can play ruck, sure, but those key pillars of that Sydney forward line did not do anything. They have really needed tolls, and they didn't draft one. I'm like, Sydney are going to get Armstrong, and they're going to get Shanahan, and they're going to win the next 5 premierships, and they didn't. I'm like, what are you doing? you had your choice at both Whitlocks. You had your choice at Armstrong earlier. It's not disaster, because obviously these players are good. They're good enough to get drafted in the first round. But what are you doing? If in 6 years he turns into another Will Gould, if in 6 years he turns into another one of these Sydney picks that just haven't turned out, Constante, Stevens, I can go on. We view Sydney as a really good drafting team. How many of those good picks come from their academy? A lot of them. A lot of them. Like 2020, sure, McDonald was a hit, but he really should have gone to North Melbourne. Let's be honest. North Melbourne linked to him for so long and then take Phillips. Could you imagine if Sydney got Phillips there? I think we'd look, and I think this is something that might be talked about in a couple years' time. Is Sydney that good of a drafting team? I get they're good. They have these really good academy players, but these past couple of years, maybe they've got a few really good depth players. Braden Campbell, was he an academy pick? Yes, he was. Braden Campbell was an academy pick. So I'm trying to think, who have they drafted? Like, Amadi wasn't in the national draft. Amadi got overlooked. So who have they drafted in these past couple of years that's really good? Not many. Not many. And I think it's because they take shots like these and they never land. And I'm sure Bowman and Detoli might become good players. I'm not saying they never will, but they had key position players here that they should have drafted. And then North Melbourne trade into the draft. They trade their future first round pick, which, let's be honest here, North Melbourne fans should agree. It's going to be 1 to 5. It will be 1 to 5. Maybe 1 to 7 if you're lucky. So you trade pick 5. Maybe North won't finish in the bottom 4. They've finished in the bottom 4 for 5 years now. They shouldn't finish in the bottom 4. So we'll say, you trade pick 5 and you get pick 27 and pick 30, the way next year's draft is looking, because you get Richmond's second round pick next year. Is it worth it for Matt Whitlock? Because you've got to remember, next year's draft is filled with tolls. It's really good, next year's draft. I reckon they could have got this done for a second round pick. Easily, you could have got this done for a second round pick. Especially since Richmond gave up their second in return. Could have easily got this done for a second. Because you got the average draft, like realistically a first round, on paper next year is going to be 18. This is 9 picks later. And you give up future first? It's crazy to me. Crazy. But Matt Whitlock, he fell so far down. I rate him. I really do rate him, but yeah, I'm really surprised. It's a really good pick. I will give North Melbourne that. And they got a really good player here. He will be able to complement Larkey so nicely up forward. He's going to learn off Darling and Larkey for 2 years, and he's going to come in. He'll back up Cherry in the ruck. He'll be Larkey's second option, and it's going to be crazy. Was it worth giving up top 5 pick though, when you could have got it done for a future second? That's the only blemish I have on that trade. But now I want to talk a bit about the undrafted players. So these were my rankings. So I was pretty good. Like, I guess everyone was pretty good, but Shanahan's the big one for me. Shanahan fell really far. The fact he's still on the board, Richmond are going to get a really good pick for Shanahan if they don't want to draft him. They're going to get a future first and maybe an extra pick as well. Jack Whitlock, I feel so bad for Jack Whitlock. Both the Whitlock boys, they cut to them when Sydney had one of their picks. They were both like tearing up. I feel so bad for them. They thought they were first round picks. They should have been first round picks in my eyes. They were just, I feel so bad for them because I rated them so highly, especially Matt. I had Matt as like I think it was 16th, and he fell to 27, and Jack's going to get picked up in the second round. There's a lot of really good players in this second round, like top 30 players in my eyes. There's 5 of them. So look, who's got the first 5 in the draft? So draft tracker. So I'll talk a bit more, like Tom Gross, Moraes, Dodson. Yeah, I thought all of these players, maybe Moraes would have fallen out. But yeah, I think most of these players are all second round picks. I think that's pretty fair. So how do I see it playing out now? I'm just gonna pull up the prospects on my other screen. Why has that done that? So the Bulldogs here. I think Bulldogs, well, Richmond actually. I think Richmond trade this pick to Geelong, and Geelong pick up Dodson. Richmond, I think either way, it's going to be Dodson 28. Then I think the Bulldogs go Tom Gross. I think Eagles go Hamish Davies. I think Bulldogs then go Christian Moraes, and then Saints probably get Whitlock. I'd probably prefer as a Saints fan to get Moraes over Whitlock, given we drafted Taru, but Whitlock's still a great player. He should not have been available to us, and yeah, I think maybe it's lucky that we didn't trade back, but yeah. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of the draft. Let me know who your surprise was. Let me know how your team went, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video.